What's up guys, welcome back. Today we are reviewing Singles Inferno Season 4, Episode 7. So this is where things start getting interesting because all the predictions that I made in the first 6 episodes when it aired are now starting to come to fruition. And you're starting to see how people really make decisions with their emotions. And there's a lot of mistakes here, but also a lot of lessons here that I think we can learn. Quick recap, they're on an island. We have Cion, I call her a chipmunk girl. So Cion is a girl that's a classical Korean beauty but can't make up her mind about who she likes. Yujin is the one that smiles a lot. She kind of made some early mistakes that made the guys not want to go after her. Now she's kind of like isolated and not really making any matches. Kim Sol is the cute doll-like model. We don't know that much about her yet. We know she's got very cutesy facial expressions. The commentators really like her and she's starting to express some of her feelings, but she hasn't made that solid connection yet. Young is my favorite. She's the darker skinned girl. She has one really good connection with a tall guy. We'll see how that goes. Jin was the classical beauty in second place who now is having trouble competing with Cion, the first place girl. And let's see if she makes any moves from here on. It'd be really interesting to see her strategy if there is any. Arin is the cutesy girl as well. I think she has a connection with the accountant and she wants to continue that connection. Let's see how it goes. Lin is a girl I like a lot too. She has a lot of game. She came in later on, so she has a huge disadvantage. Everyone else has made their connections already, but I find her very delightful to be around, energetic, and much more expressive than the other girls. On the guy side, we have Taehwan. One of the hosts called him a malfunctioning robot. He's really tall, lanky, and a little bit awkward. Dong-ho is the CPA accountant. He's seems at first, the first few episodes, we didn't get any footage of him. And then he started loosening up and he started expressing himself, and now the girls are starting to like him. He's what I would consider like a undercover assassin. He's the guy that when you leave him on the island and he has time with the girls and they really have time to get to know him, they're like, oh, this guy's pretty cool. He's also, I think, one of the older ones. I think he's the only guy in his 30s. Teo, very good looking guy, has like very fun like player game, you know, very dedicated. I actually like the guy. The only thing I don't like about him is his commitment to this one girl, Cion, and I'm gonna explain why later, and I think it's a very big lesson that those of you that are out there dating can learn. Junsu is probably my least favorite contestant. I think he lies a lot. Either he does it on purpose or he doesn't know he's doing it. But the things he's saying has like, it's not clear to the girls how he really feels. And I think he keeps his options open. I think the way he describes his feelings borderlines on like he's actually lying to the girls. That's why I don't like him. Junso, I like him. He's the most dominant type. I said in the very beginning, he's like one of those stoic like military guys, very down to earth, but very strong, but also like matter of fact. And I think women like that. We'll see how he does. Junhoon was the guy where there were 3 really good looking guys that came in later on and he won that contest, but I haven't seen any footage of him whatsoever, so I don't know anything about him. I know he's very good looking. I know he won the contest. I wish there was more footage of him where I can assess how he games, but right now we just don't have any information.
Junso.
That's right.
I thought she'd choose someone like Jong-un, a wild card like him.
What did I tell you guys?
What did I just tell you?
What did I tell you? I have Sion's archetype down to a T, right? So when you don't know what you want and you don't really know who you are and you're kind of like a leaf in the wind, and now she picked Junsu again, probably because she's curious about him, right? And so even though as a guy like with Teo where you're like, I'm committed to you, but the girl's not committing to you, it gets really frustrating. It sucks. I don't like seeing this. I don't like it. It's good for the show, but I think it's very misleading for the other contestants. I personally would not do this if I was her, but you know, people do what they want to do.
I feel like it's just pulling me down.
Makes sense.
Yeah.
Okay. She has too many options. She has a lot to think about.
I think she's taking things more seriously with the guys now. As she's slowly realizing how decent they are, it's making her consider things on a deeper level.
That's a nice way of putting it. I would say she doesn't know what she wants, and so it takes her more time to evaluate like what guy is right for her, even though she probably needs some time to herself for self-discovery. In the beginning of the introduction clips, we heard her say, I've always been in relationships, right? So it's likely that she doesn't really know who she is on her own. And when that's the case, in my opinion, you don't want to date around and play with people's hearts too much because you're trying to find yourself. And while you're in that process, you don't want to lead people on and like make them feel bad.
I've been talking to Teo a lot, so I'm pretty aware of the extent of his feelings for you. That's why I had to be A bit more careful.
Cion asked Junso why you didn't say that you wanted to go to paradise with me. And Junso explains, I know how all the guys feel about you. Everyone's into you. And so therefore, I didn't want to just put it out there out of consideration for their feelings. And her reaction is very telling.
I have a clear idea of who has feelings for you right now, so I didn't want to drop your name like that.
She's pleased.
He was being considerate of his rivals.
Yeah.
Now, the host got the idea that he answered it very well, right? He was being considerate and dominant. But I think they missed the smile here. Watch.
Gotcha, bitch!
She's not smiling because he made the right move. I think she's smiling because he's like, oh, nice. I got all these guys wrapped around my finger. And now here's another one that took the bait, you know.
Another one.
I think she gets a lot of validation now that, you know, all the guys are after her. And I think she's literally playing with their hearts. Now, you could argue and say, no, she's just getting to know them. But when you have three guys that are so different, like if you knew what you wanted, if you knew who you were, it's very clear who you would want. And I think this laugh is a laugh of vanity, not one of like, oh, I think you made the right move. It's like, oh, so now you just told me all the guys like me. All right, so now I know how powerful I am now compared to you guys.
As for the guys I've been to paradise with, I do think I've been withholding my feelings from them.
What did I tell you? What did I tell you?
Another one.
She's not telling them exactly what she's thinking. And it's really misleading in my opinion. Now she's telling this to Junso, which is interesting. Let's see how this goes.
Because my mind keeps changing. If I expressed myself more, it could be taken as a form of reassurance, which could lead to potential misunderstandings.
I think this is a cop-out. You guys know how I feel about this. There's an other side argument. It's just she's a girl trying to find herself. That's fine. But I don't like that she withholds what she's thinking. And I feel bad for the other guys. I don't feel bad for the guy that keeps lying. I do feel bad for Teo.
Put those concerns aside for now. Just
Right.
eat some good food,
You're
enjoy this
right.
conversation, and have fun until our time's up and we go back to Inferno.
Okay, what Junso is doing here is basically using the pleasure and pain principle. Okay, so as human beings, we want to move towards pleasure and away from pain. And basically what he's doing is, I understand you, statement of empathy. And then he's saying, but while you're here with me, don't think about that. Don't think about the painful, hard stuff. Have some good food, hang out with me. No need to take it too serious. So he's positioning time with him as pleasurable, whereas thinking about what she needs to do with the other guys as pain. Okay, it's a very clever positioning strategy. I don't know if he's doing it on purpose or not. I think he's just naturally very charming. But what this does is it positions yourself as a place where people can be themselves and be free. For example, when I was trying to date this girl who was a VP, she was like very busy with her work, right? Most guys are like, hey, so when are you free? What's your schedule like? You know, like, hey, I want to plan ahead of time. You know, we have enough time with you, you know? And she's just like, yeah, I'm already in meetings all day and you're not pressuring me. So instead I say, look, do what you need to do for work. You know, I might be around, but just know that when you come out with me, it's a break from work. It's relaxing. We can get some tea. It's gonna be chill, you know, like, and whenever you're free, it's not a big deal. I'm an entrepreneur. I get it. So I'm positioning myself with the VP girl as time with me is away from work. It's fun. It's chill. It's relaxing. Whereas every other guy is like, what's your schedule? What can I see you? When are you free? I know you're really busy, right? Me, logic. I'm like, hey, pleasure. Pain, pleasure. Make sense?
There's no
Okay.
need to get too serious.
I really do
Let's do
plan
that.
to focus only on you for
Okay.
today.
That's the result of that.
Good.
근데 이렇게 선택지. But it seems like people who have so many choices and constantly weigh their options always end up alone.
I don't know if she meant that as a joke, but she's absolutely right. Not just in dating shows, but in real life as well. Because when you have a lot of options and you don't quite know who you are, you just end up leading everyone on, and eventually people get pissed off. People get mad. And you're just so unsure, and you keep thinking, because I have all these guys or all these girls after me, the next girl's gonna be even better, the next one's gonna be better. And your mind just keeps giving you that dopamine hit, and it never stops. How do you get out of it? You date with the intention of finding out what you want in your dating life. And by doing so, you can travel in one of two directions, which is I want more experience for my own sake, versus two, I kind of know what I want, I'm looking for the right person. And if you're honest with people about that path that you're on, even though they might be heartbroken, they won't resent you for leading them on.
I mean,
wasn't
those
expecting
who
to
don't
hear
have
that.
many options get married the moment they find someone. I've seen that happen to so many people.
It's true, it's true. I remember this one girl in high school, like every guy liked her, right? And last I heard, she's like in her 40s and still single. Because sometimes we're gifted with so many options, but in that freedom, there's a lack of discipline, right? My mentor would always say, in discipline, there's freedom. So there is this thing to be said about like knowing what you want and knowing when enough is enough.
Most recently, I have been the face of a beauty brand for 3 years.
Okay, so Arin is a model. She's a commercial model. What that means is commercial models are models that have a very wide appeal. Editorial fashion models are models that have a distinct look and they can wear clothes and walk on the runway really well. They're usually a little taller. Commercial models are just very appealing to a wide audience of different demographics.
Right? You pose with your shoulders.
Wow, you seem to know a lot about it.
Isn't that what
I do
people
use my
usually do?
shoulders when I pose.
These two are so cute together because deep down they're both dorky, right? They're both dorky, but then they look hot. So when you can get past the superficialness, you start finding like you have a similar sense of humor or similar sense of like awkwardness. That's when the real connection starts to build.
The fact that they live in the same neighborhood is
huge.
a big discovery.
Okay, they find out they're in the same neighborhood. That's a big one because proximity is huge in dating, especially on dating shows, right? Because a lot of times the show's over, people go back to their hometowns and it's a long distance relationship and then it's very hard to make that work out. But I actually think these two might have a chance of continuing their relationship after the show.
I currently work as a spatial designer. I help companies stay on brand during their hosted events by helping with their furniture arrangement.
Okay, I like this girl. That's a very cool job.
A DJ and an artist.
Oh,
I mainly compose electronic music.
gosh, really?
And I own a nightclub.
For real?
Yeah.
Something doesn't add up. How did he get the money for the nightclub? Like, I don't understand his story.
I was bothered by how jealous she looked.
That's all.
Okay.
A little.
You were?
I wasn't too bothered, just a bit.
I thought we had a telepathic thing going on.
These two, like when I look at their body language in this particular scene, I think they like each other, but I don't know if they have like a deep connection or chemistry. If you look at just the body language here, he seems a little bit more open to her and she seems a little bit more reserved with the arm like this and like this. These are like not major, but just like very micro, more defensive kind of vibe. I could be wrong, but that's what I'm getting here. When I watch their interaction, I do find it cute, but I don't find it like super compatible. I think they're two very different people.
You do seem argumentative.
But I don't think arguing is wrong.
Not at all.
Do you? Arguing often gives us an opportunity to understand ourselves and each other better.
Junso does a couple of things that are really effective in game that I will teach you, but I don't want you to abuse. And the things that he does works particularly well with like hot girls that are what we call social butterflies. They're like flying around and they're just having fun in their early 20s and they don't quite want to settle down and they don't quite know what they want. And these are the what we used to call turbo girls, which are like they're super hot girls who just like go with their emotions. It's not my cup of tea these days, but there was a couple of years that I spent when I was like, man, I really want to sleep with these girls. How do I do it? And I figured that out by studying my mentors. But I can tell you that after doing that these girls are actually not that fun to be with after you actually hook up because they're all over the place. But for those of you that haven't had that experience, you're just like, I don't care, I want that experience. I get it. So I'll break it down for you, but just, use it responsibly, please.
I think everything else will be smooth sailing from there on. Follow your heart.
So he says, follow your heart. So we know at this point that Cion is a girl who like is a very emotionally like the wind, right? She's easily swayed. And he's basically saying what we call golden words, right? He's using her key phrases and repeating that based on how he describes himself. And when people hear like, oh my God, this is a person that follows their heart too. That's exactly what I was thinking. They feel this deep connection towards you. In sales, it's called the golden word strategy, which is you find the golden words that are important to that person and you use it in the conversation with them. For example, if you're watching my videos, you'll know I use words like authenticity, integrity, frame. So if you met me in person and you use those words, I'd be like, oh, this person's a kindred spirit. So every person has words that they go to regularly that mean a lot to them. And he's basically saying, follow your heart, follow your emotions. And Cion, you can see her facial expression right here in this frame. She's like, oh my God, that's exactly what I was thinking.
I must say, I think I communicate with you the best.
Really?
And in response, she says, I communicate with you the best because you're using the words that I'm using.
Totally. It really feels like we're connecting.
I usually don't ever ask questions like this. So
Yeah.
is it okay if I ask?
This is called getting the buy-in. So getting the buy-in is very powerful when you ask a question that the other person might not be ready to answer, or you're not sure they're quite there yet. Now, watch what he asked her by using the buy-in as a opener.
Okay, so, well, I've been a bit curious, actually, about how you thought of me at first versus how you feel
Yeah.
about me now.
He already knows the answer to this, right? It's because she chose him for this date. So she likes him now. The answer is most likely, I saw you and I didn't think much of you, or like you were a little bit cold or distant, or I wasn't sure, to like now I actually see you, like I really like you. That's probably what she's gonna say.
Honestly, you were not on my radar at all to begin with. Yeah, I was curious. I wanted to try talking with you.
Oh, okay.
When we finally got close, I realized you were so different from what I'd expected in a good way.
I can explain more, but let's keep watching.
I thought we should go to paradise at least
Really?
once. It's honestly really nice.
Yeah.
So it's surprising, but really confusing.
I feel a similar way.
That's a very powerful line. I feel a similar way because he also got 4 votes in the chocolate contest. So he's like basically saying, I know how you feel. One of the lines I used to use when I was modeling, I would say, the girl would be like, you know, I got this shoot, I got this shoot. It's like very clear from a female model. Like when you talk to them at lunch, it's like, yeah, everyone's after you. I get it, right? And there is something to be said about if you can say, I understand it's hard to be popular, isn't it? So you're kind of relaying to her like, yeah, I know what it's like to be popular, but you're not saying you're popular, you're just saying, I understand how it feels. It's very subtle. And he has a right to say this because a lot of the girls are still into him, right? So now she's like, oh, he's at the level where he gets my problems, you see. Now I can share my problems with him. It's like if you're a billionaire and you're talking to a millionaire, the millionaire might be able to ask the billionaire for advice, but the billionaire knows that there's certain problems at his level that the millionaire will never understand. But if the millionaire also says, actually, I also made $1 billion, then the other billionaire will not believe that when he tells him that I have similar problems, that's true.
Well, it felt like an actual date.
It felt like an actual date, in my opinion, because Teo was just like, I like you, I like you, I like you, flip, flip, flip. Even though his floating skills, I think, were pretty good. This guy was just like, I am who I am. I say when I like it, when I want to, but I'm not going to give you that validation right away. So for her, it's like, oh, there's a little bit of a challenge. Now it feels like a date. He's also a lot more dominant than Teo. He's like, he moves when he wants to move, and he's not afraid to touch her sometimes. And so I think to her, just that masculine man to woman vibe that she hasn't maybe experienced with Teo at least.
This feels so good. Wow. Every moment felt like a real date.
This is a very subtle but very important point, and I'll tell you why in just one scene after.
And when I talk to you, I feel like I can fully be myself.
What Junso is doing, in my opinion, is that instead of chasing the girl, because with girls that are classically hot and beautiful in Korean culture like Cion, most guys have this chasing strategy. Chase, 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 chase. Please like me, please like me, please like me, please like me, please like me. Oh my god.
I thought she'd be here by now.
What's going on?
Shh. We can't talk until she starts moving again.
She's like finally gets worn down. It's like, okay, fine, I'll like you. That's how she gets into relationships.
No, you don't understand.
Because I am not some kind of cheap slut. I don't screw every pathetic guy that gives me a letter. I give them hand jobs.
But a better strategy, in my opinion, is, I talk about this in my book, right? You can get it here at this link, is to create space for the girl to be herself. And the best analogy I can give you is from my late salsa teacher, Wayne Melton. He said, create the frame of a solid leader. And then within that frame, as you're dancing, let her be completely free in herself, in her femininity. And I thought that dancing analogy was very interesting because it really captures the essence of men and women dating dynamics, which is, Junso is basically like, look, I'm gonna do what I do. I'm a man, and because I'm a solid rock, she can be feminine and flow. And because Cion is so indecisive, she flows and she feels safe flowing because she knows that the rock is there. And this gives her a more feminine vibe, and she can kind of just be free within that vibe and still say what she wants to say and do what she wants to do. When she's with Teo and the other guy, Chun-Soo, they're like chasing, and she feels like she needs to put up a wall, right? Because they're just so hardcore, like, I like you already, here. But instead, if you run good game, it's It's like, I show you interest, do you match my interest? If not, I show this interest, I go for after other girls. You show interest, I match your interest, I lead a little bit, you follow, I lead. So there's a calibration of investment that we make in another person in dating. And a lot of guys, especially in Asian culture, the girl doesn't show interest, they show more interest. And the cultural narrative is that if I try hard enough, eventually I'll pass the test. Okay, and it's a very dangerous mentality. And you'll see why in the next episode. Instead, Junso just gives her just a space. And when you create that vacuum, that space, you can push a little bit, but when you back off, she feels this vacuum and she wants to chase you. She wants to move towards you. And when you do it really well on a very high level, after a while, on the second or third date, you have girls chasing after you. And it's a very cool feeling once you know how to do that. It just feels like you can play the game at like a much higher level and you can stop chasing. You can put in effort, you can fully engage the person, but you stop begging for their attention. And when I learned how to do this in my game, around like year 4 of my training process, it took me a little longer because I was slow. My whole strategy of how I related with women completely transformed. And I became a guy that women chased rather than me chasing.
That's good, but you still seem to have a lot on your mind.
Yeah, I do.
You don't have to choose me. I just want you to be more sincere with me.
Oh, okay.
Instead of just saying, it's nice or it's so nice.
Yeah.
You're allowed to say, I'm thinking about someone else.
I'll allow it.
I would appreciate it if you were honest like that instead. We're alone here, so you don't have to hide your feelings or pretend around me. You look very confused right now.
I'm happy, just so sleepy too.
You're drinking too much for someone who's just happy.
So here's the thing. I like you. That's why I'm confused.
Tell me
Know what
more
I mean?
about that.
When you give people space, you allow them to tell you the truth and be themselves, right? And right now, this is what's happening. She's able to speak her mind, unlike with the other two guys.
I've been coming to paradise every day.
Yeah?
Really, bitch?
And each day, my mind's been changing. I was so sure that I didn't have feelings for you up until yesterday, but my feelings for you have grown now that we're here. This change in me is what's making me feel confused.
Who do you like the most?
It's a good question. The other guys were too afraid to ask her that. The other guys were like, hey, I like you. You can decide when you want. This guy's like, well, who do you like the most right now? Perfectly fair question.
Right now, Teo.
Teo?
Yeah.
Why?
When you ask that question, there's a risk that she's going to say some other guy, right? And most guys get flustered after that, but he doesn't. Watch what he does.
Why Teo? Well, he's expressive.
Yeah.
He's expressive and he's on my mind.
There's this response that you want to fill the vacuum and like say, well, but, oh, that's good for you. Or like, okay, that's good. Or like, well, but I'm better, right? But instead, this guy just lets it sit. It's like, okay, let me give her space to just fully express herself and to really listen.
That's more like it.
He compliments her, that's more like it. That's good. You're being true to your feelings, right? So instead of like punishing her for saying another guy's name or like being jealous, he's like, good, you're starting to understand your own heart, right? He's almost playing the role of a therapist here. And then she starts to cry, right? Because, see, like, she doesn't know herself, so she's not fully aware of the emotion that's going on in her because she doesn't understand herself and what's going on and how she processes these things. And so she's starting to cry because she's like, I like this other guy too. What's going on with me?
Spending time with you has made me grow the same feelings for you, and it's confusing me. I'm just feeling a little drained is all. Well, since my mind is truly all over the place right now.
No need to explain.
I don't think he fully gets it, but he did say, look, you don't need to explain. You feel how you feel, and that's okay. You're entitled to your feelings. And that's powerful in therapy.
I get it.
Okay guys, this video is running a little long, so I'm gonna end it here. Be sure to subscribe because in the next video, I'm going to continue breaking down Cion and Junsu's dinner conversation, and actually things get really wild when they both get in bed. And stay tuned for the next video breakdown. Enjoy.